Thank you all for being here at the CVEB networking event, Pacific. A great pleasure to see you all here today. I know everybody's got very, very busy schedules and lots of demands on your time. So your presence here is just a reflection, I think, on your commitment to our veterans, our service members, survivors, and their families. We've got an exciting program, we think, here today, in addition to the CVEB Best Practices panel, where we'll hear some of the great work going on throughout the West, throughout the Western states. But also we've got, as you've seen on the agenda, we're going to have a presentation on the RAMP program, suicide prevention, women veterans, human-centered design project, and the CVEB task force information. Without further ado, well, I will say real quick, it's an axiom that nobody knows or cares how much you know until they know how much you care, and I think as your presence here is evidence of that. I'd like to now turn it over to Mr. Jim Wartsky, the Executive Director of Community Engagement for the Veteran Experience Office. Jim.
Thank you, Bob. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today. I flew in from Atlanta last night, so part of me is a little tired or whatever as we're going to our presentation. And I'm going to have a couple talking points for you. And these talking points are going to be coming from Dr. Davis. And I left her in Atlanta. She's with the secretary today, and I'll give some more information on that in a minute. But I want to make sure I'm giving fair justice to the points that she would like to make to this group during this networking event. So let me just go through and talk them over as I can read them to you. So thank you for joining the fourth of 5 CVEB networking events. This one covering the Pacific region of the U.S. that the Veterans Experience Office is hosting with local communities, CVEBs, VA leaders across health benefits and memorial affairs, state, county VAs, academia, nonprofit, and private organizations, all who support veterans, families, caregivers, and survivors. And here alone, in the Spokane area, we have representatives from all. I appreciate all the time that everyone has taken out to be part of this as we are doing this throughout the Pacific region, throughout all our sites. We have 149 community veteran engagement boards in the network, some longtime success groups and others newly formed, all grassroots efforts in partnership with the VA, and I can't stress that enough. These are grassroots. All the effort is coming from the community, the leadership, which we are most appreciative and most honored to allow the VA to come to the table. Over 30 CVEBs who have received appreciation through our veteran-friendly community initiatives. And as we are traveling around, our goal is to just show our appreciation from the government side, from big government, to say thank you. Thank you to the communities. Thank you to all for that, what you were doing as a volunteer. Bob even said this is a volunteer effort, but it takes time and resources and abilities, and it's coming from the communities, it's coming from the individuals, so thank you. And the VA is going around commending that effort. The goal of this event is to promote local communities and building coalitions and strategic community-based partnerships to bridge gaps in services, brainstorm local sessions, share information, share best practices, lessons learned, success stories, and create a network of resources that foster veteran-friendly communities. And in my previous career in the military, we used to call them after-action reviews, or ability to teach one another, mentor one another. So as was mentioned earlier by Dr. Davis's talking points, some of the organizations are seasoned. Some of them are just entering this 149, and there are still over 40 in the pipeline. And they'll be looking for the mentorship. They'll be looking for the liaison work, or how did you do this, or whatever. So we look to the ones who have solved these problems, and of course share information. And that's one of the goals of these networking events, or to build a coalition, so that those who are seeking information, for those who have learned how to do it already, can share their successes. Supporting veterans and their families local, where they live and work, and communities concerned, and not something VA has handled alone. We must address veteran issues at the local level in partnership with local providers, nonprofits, community leaders, state, county VA, and veteran advocates. And basically what we're saying is that the VA of Washington, D.C. cannot do it alone. And we rely and certainly appreciate all the work that the local facilities, communities, and all come together to support our cherished veterans, families, caregivers, and all the survivors. Because without you, without the communities, we, as a partnership group, would not be successful. Some of our key partnerships are present with us here today. America's Warrior Partnership and Bob Woodruff Foundation, to name a few, and we rely on the strategic partnerships to achieve collective impacts together. So let me also take this opportunity to just mention that what we are doing in Atlanta is participating in the American Warriors Partnership, and that's where Dr. Davis is today. She's with Secretary Rothi, who will be the keynote speaker. And I have witnessed in Atlanta how so many 501c3s, how many great organizations are coming together to support the VA, to support veterans, to partner with the VA, to partner with everyone, to bring us all together as one group. And it is currently happening, and that is why Dr. Davis is not able to join on, because she's physically with Secretary Rothi, who has become the keynote speaker in Atlanta at the AWP conference. Together with local communities, we can provide better, more holistic, and quality services and benefits to improve the lives of veterans and their families by rebuilding the trust communities have in the VA. We launched VEO, the Veterans Experience Office, in 2015, at a time where the VA had a very low trust factor in communities. And I can't attribute this directly to the launching of VEO. But what I can say is some of the results as we partner with communities and work with 501c3s and appreciate coming to the table, that together we're serving our veterans and families all better. And one of the metrics that I can say that we've observed is that the trust factor, as we survey the organization to see the opinion of the VA and the trust factor, has significantly increased. So we appreciate all the work that's going on. We appreciate the partnerships. We appreciate as you try to evaluate what VEO is doing together with the other agencies at VA, together with state and local, together with 501c3s. And the overall answer that we're having is it's working. And veterans are trusting us and coming to VA to get the benefits that they so well earned for themselves, their families, and all. So it is a success story coming together. So together with local communities, we can provide better, more holistic, and quality services benefits to improve the lives of veterans. Through a modernized approach to data, tools, technology, and engagement, we hope to create a single veteran experience, one that is modeled at the private sector best practice and listens in real time to the feedback from its customers and employees. And when I want to comment on that, my goal for my team, as we work embedded in the communities and work with the community, is that it's a two-way communication. It is one that we wish to push out information, such as we're doing in this networking event. We intend to give information and share it from the VA's perspective and push it out, or from whatever organization wants to. It is networking. But the other half is our ability to listen to the communities. And every person on my team has a very, very good listening capability. So I'm very proud of their work that they're doing, and I want to know that the communication doors are open, and it is that reason that we have these networking events. The information go back and forth, sharing, and us listening very closely. VA's effort to improve access, timeliness, modernization, the choice program, caregiver support, veterans who are homebound, and initiatives to improve the customer experience are critical to support our nation's veterans. And there, we will continue to do good work and focus on our services to our veterans. So as I will conclude for Dr. Davis on her opening remarks, and as I said, she wishes she could join us, but she is with Secretary Rothi right now at the AWP conference in Atlanta. But I shared her talking points with you, and her heart and leadership is in our VEO success, and we are glad to be partnering with you. So with that, thank you to everyone for their successes, and now let's get networking. So Dr. Davis, we wish you best luck working with, or best wishes working with Secretary Rothi as you're delivering some keynote speech to the attendees at the AWP conference, and we will continue working on this networking event. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much, Jim. Well said.
So let's go on to the next portion where I can now describe a little more about VEO. So Tony Davis, who's in Phoenix, Arizona, one of the greatest opportunities that we have with these networking events is that we're scattered throughout the United States, but we're all talking to each other, we're all learning. We're getting communities from each other's cities and all to start networking together to learn it. And we have a strong resource, which I'll go through in our VEO presentation. But if there's ever any questions, you can bring it back to us in the VA, and we could try to hone into those experts who've lived the experiences and helped out. So let me start off with the VEO office. We started in 2015, actually launched ourselves in early 2015 with the first few hires, but I would be willing to say that our significant start really started around May of 2015. Collecting, analyzing, and sharing the experience of veteran families, caregivers, and survivors with VA services. Once again, bringing our services, bringing what VA can do to the community and reaching those veterans and their families. Everyone's earned their benefits. Let's make sure that we get it to them. Informing VA policy and operation for accountability, service recovery, and program improvement. And that is our key work that we're trying to do as our office is. And let's show you the team that we have trying to do it. So, next slide. Thank you, Tony. I want to go through the organization of VEO for those of you who might never seen it or heard of it or who our people are. So we talked about Dr. Linda Davis as our Chief Veterans Experience Officer. She is a presidential appointee assigned to us with great pleasure. Her talents are unbelievable, and her connectivity and networking impress me almost every day. And you can see as the Chief Veterans Experience Officer that she has direct line to the Secretary and the Deputy Secretary's office. So Linda Davis is our conduit who talks directly to the Secretary and has served our veterans well through our entire career, and we are very pleased to have her as our leader. Barbara Morton is our Deputy Veterans Experience, and Lee Becker is our Chief of Staff, and you can see the visuals of their pictures there. But let me get into the next level of VEO so you have a better understanding of who we are. Next slide, please. So you can see that person. You can see that person who's up in the upper left corner, recognized face. A little bit younger than, I guess, but that's me. We have Joy White, who is our Portfolio Management Officer, living out in California right now. Curtis Carey, who is our Insights and Analytics, who works quite a bit with our data analysis and all, who's living up in Maine. Mike Delucius, who's going to be working with cemeteries and VBA benefits. And Mike is located in Jacksonville, Florida. Jennifer Purdy, who is focused on PX, which is our Patient Experience VHA. And Jennifer is located in Texas. And Denise Kitts, who's our multi-channel tech, who is in Washington, D.C., but her work evolves around vets.gov, the White House hotline, more of the technical work. And that's our leadership team within VEO. But we have about 100 employees, a little over 100 employees working amongst all this group to deliver it. And I'll probably have an opportunity to talk to you about some of the successes that we've done. Next. One of the points that I also want to bring out, as I mentioned, the states that everyone is working in. As you can see, we are not an organization that is solely based out of Washington, D.C. at the VA Central Office on 810 Vermont, but that we are an organization that is covering the entire United States. And as Secretary Wilkie says, walk the post or boots on the ground, and we are out there in communities. So here's our community engagement. You can see, you can read the slides, but as I try to focus, I look at what is the diagram that talks to us about, and in the center, of course, we talk about our veteran, the family, and it works its way out. You can see where the CVEB organization is that encircles that veteran and organization, and then you can see all the organizations that are supporting the CVEBs in the community. What I like to look at with that diagram is that it references all the organizations supporting the veteran through the CVEB or through the family as it becomes centric inside. The point being is that there'd be a nucleus or a center organization, so when a veteran comes into an organization, he's not confused, he comes into a community, he doesn't really know where to go, but that there is a central person, central organization, and hence in this report, we're looking at the CVEB being the ability to direct and support our veterans in their communities. The VEO office, what do we look at ourselves as? We're the ones who are trying to keep the organization centric and going into a combat multiplier, in my old terms, or force multiplier. in this diagram, and it seems to be working very well. There's 149 or 30 more in the pipeline are looking to join because it's, as I had mentioned, creating that force multiplier for the veteran. Next slide, please. And also, I want to mention that the VBA, VHA, and all that, we invite them to all come to it, but I'm not going to take the stress away from, or the point away from the CVEB being the grassroots effort, and that, once again, I will say, we are appreciative of the communities allowing the VA to come and partner with them and work with our CVEB co-chairs in the areas to ensure that the benefits are all given to them and acknowledged, that we have a two-way communication going on. What this slide really shows is the veteran previously who would come into a community, and it was a little disjointed, it was a little confusing. Like, which way do I go? Do I go to VHA? Do I go to VBA? Do I go to state? Do I go to communities, county commissioners? Do I go to a 501c3 together? But if we all work together, which is the slide portion on the right, if we all work together and we have a concentric work nucleus, it makes life so much easier and so much more effective and efficient and beneficial for the veteran and family and caregiver and survivors and all. And that's our goal, and it is working very, very well. You can see the website for contact information underneath that's put on that. These slides are made public, so if you can't write it down real quick, you could look at that website and see what the community engagement team is about, and have our point of contact information on there as well if you have any questions, or especially if you are a CVEB looking to, or an organization wanting to develop a CVEB, join one of those 30 in the pipeline. We're more than willing to help you in our coaching. We do have representatives throughout the states, and we'll cover that. Next slide, please. So here is our current Community Veteran Engagement Board coverage. You can see the areas where there might be some vacant areas but might need some. As we've identified that there are needs, we look at data, we look at issues going on within medical centers, communities, and we could suggest, but we are always open to ask where could we have some more impact in the community of veterans, and we're always open to it. But that is a current view of the CVEBs that we have throughout the United States. As I mentioned, we are continuing to grow. We will not stop. If there's a need, we will continue to coach. But Jim Wojcicki does have a vision. And with the limited number of people that I have on our team, my vision is basically we would love to have the CVEBs become self-sustaining. We're there to support them. My concern is that if we get too involved, as big government gets too involved, then we might be depleting some of the grassroots efforts. So I stress to my team and I stress to everyone that it's our pleasure to become a partner in these communities, and we will coach, assist, do whatever we can to work with the leadership in that community. And once again, thank you for allowing the VA to come to its table as we work in serving our veterans in the local areas. Next slide, please. And this is just, and we're going to go through 3 slides, but all this information is available on the website for engagement, which is listed on the bottom, but you can just see if your areas are up there. And we're not just limited to our states, but we also work with the territories. I work very closely with NAVSA, and I appreciated having our Kat here from the Washington State, as I am in Spokane right now, working for Alfie, who is the state commissioner. We want to partner so closely with him, so we work with the state representatives, the territory representatives. We are the ones, as that slide depicted, trying to bring everyone together. So we're going to very quickly go through the next 2 slides, which are going to include the other representatives we have. And if your state is up there, you'll know who the person is who to contact. There is a default on that as well. Next slide. So we've gone through all 50 states plus territories. And if you need to get in contact with the person who's covering your state, that's the person from the VEO Community Engagement Team who you could contact. Next slide, please. So lastly, what I want to say is this is our organization. You have my email up there. Christopher Olson is my deputy, who you have the email number up there. If you have any questions referencing CVEBs, community engagement, please feel free. I have a fantastic program manager by the name of Andy Martinez. We could always reach out to her. Our contact box is listed up there. If there's any questions we can do to assist a community in development or support or whatever else, please contact either myself, Chris Olson, or Andy Martinez, and we will respond promptly. Also knowing that we have an individual from the team who is responsible for your state, and that person will contact and support you. So it sounds like the VA is giving quite a bit of support to you, just shy of not wanting to interfere with the grassroots efforts. But we, once again, as I said this many times, want to thank everyone in the communities for allowing the VA to partner, work in the communities, and do great things for our veterans from the community level. Next slide. And I think that might be concluding my presentation.
Jim, that is your last slide. I don't know if you see it from your location, Bob, but we do have one hand up if we have time to take a question. Sergeant Major Coker.
Yes, we do. Of course, we'll take a question. And as I saw as you stand over there, I wish to wish Wanda Wright from Arizona, the state director. Thank you very much for joining us today. So pleasure seeing you, Wanda. Thank you for joining us at the networking event. Yes, the question, please.
Sergeant Major, you want to go with your question? You need to unmute.
Star 6 to unmute.
Tony, is the question being typed in that you could, oh, there we go.
I'm sorry, I didn't have a question. I'm just figuring out this technical system, and I've seen a little hand, and I just pushed it. I'm sorry. I am a sergeant major, but sorry, pardon me.
Sergeant Major, so we're proud of you, and I am always proud to say this about my team. The team that we have who support the field is one of the best diverse teams I've ever had in my life. Joining the VA, I'm so proud of it, and it's not all just a bunch of old colonels and officers. It's not all just Army. But I am very proud to also, and it's not all just, one race or male or female. We have a great diverse organization, because I truly believe that diversity is the best of wisdom. And I give a lot of credit to my Sergeant Major, whose name is Carmen Gamble, who also was in Atlanta with me, who is there today with the Secretary and Dr. Davis. But Carmen Gamble is our Command Sergeant Major retired, and she is truly a pleasure for us to have on our team. Sergeant Major, we'd love to hear all the great questions, and our utmost respect and all for the service that you've given to our country. Thank you.
Sir, I had a quick question, if I could. On your map, when you were showing, what is the difference? I get community coverage with the yellow circles. What does the state coverage mean? What does that mean?
So it's up to the states, the population numbers, it's up to the state as to what they feel comfortable knowing that they have. And I'll use a couple of examples. If they wish to explore even more community veteran engagement boards, of course, we're not going to say no. We will continue allowing growth and support in doing it. But the state feels very comfortable with the amount that they have there. It's good due to the population and all that they cover. Can we bring more? Yes, we can, and we'll look at doing that. For example, Alaska, which is such a big state, but due to the density of the veteran population, Alaska feels very comfortable with having this set up right now. So for their purposes, they're covered. Puerto Rico, being a rather smaller territory right now, is satisfied with the one that we have. And we actually, just as a side note, to say how involved we are, we have Dave Francavilla in Puerto Rico right now working on a VA event. So we try to get ourselves out to the communities as often as we can. Maine is covered where they are, but I know that their full goal, according to the state director, is Adriel Horn. She was looking at possibly having as many as 10 CVEBs, independent CVEBs in that state. It's a rather large state. So you get an idea of when the state declares and thinks that they are fully functional, but that's never a door closed. We will always welcome and work with them to establish. And my goal, once again, though, is to have the more experienced CVEBs who've gone through years of doing this start mentoring the ones who are coming on board. And the VA would like to be the facilitator of allowing this grassroots effort to go. But that's really what that symbolizes. It doesn't mean that, for example, Montana's only going to have one. There might be an opportunity for a couple more, but they're comfortable right now where they are, and if you wish to bring more, we'll welcome them with more.
Hey, Jim, can you hear me?
Yes, very clearly.
Hey, Jim, this is Andy Martinez. Just to back up what you're saying on the map there, I'm Jim's program manager for CE and support the team, and they're doing a fantastic job. So, some CVEBs, they want to have a broader reach, and they want to cover their whole state. And so where you see the little green dot, like if you look up at Idaho and Montana, those particular CVEBs have chosen a statewide approach, which is a challenging one. And often those CVEBs have like a hub and spokes model where they have little smaller connection points along, and around the state. But it doesn't preclude other CVEBs and other veteran advocacy groups from wanting to be part of the network. So I just wanted to add that in, but great job, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. And one of the points that I want to really stress again, as I mentioned Andy's name earlier as being a great program manager for us, and Chris being an excellent deputy for me. So Andy's in Florida today, lives in Florida. Chris lives in Arizona, but today is in Fort Belvoir, Virginia. And I mentioned about Dave Francavilla being in Puerto Rico. My point being that I'm not saying anyone's in Washington, D.C. We want to be part of where the action is. Where are the veterans? They're not in D.C. And we need to be out there in our communities. We're stretched a little thin, but we do our best to have that boots on the ground and walking the post side by side with our community partners. So Andy, thank you for that, and Andy's in Florida today.
And so I've got a question with that concept in mind and the mapping that you're looking at. So with our proximity as close as we are to the Coeur d'Alene area and the state of Idaho, their intent to look at it from a broader state perspective, would the Coeur d'Alene community, if they wanted to merge in with this existing CEB, need to get vetted through the state, or how does that work?
Well, if I had a vision, it would not be vetted through the state, it would not be vetted through the VA, it would be vetted through the community leaders. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where it would go. If it makes sense, just because there's a state line between an active area, that doesn't mean there has to be two different CVEBs.
It's just they're in such close proximity, and we see a number of instances where we partner and work together in so many other areas to support veterans. So
the real telltale question to that is what best serves the veteran. And I'm going to give an example in Tony Davis's area of New York City. New York, very highly congested area, high population of veterans. But we also included Long Island, which the good doctor would be able to talk with me about, Dr. Fisher. But the issue going on is that there's so many veterans, and it was a little bit of a challenge to travel from Long Island to New York. So, although as the crow would fly, it's not a far distance, but there was a separate CVEB going on in Long Island, as opposed to one being in New York, and I'm sure in New Jersey as well. But that's where, in that sense, they're broken up a little bit more because the congestion. But in your sense, what would better serve a veteran who is just on the other side of a state border? Well, of course, what we would recommend is if they want to merge their assets together, we'd work with however would be best for us to track it, and however would take coaching capabilities out of that team that I put up. But the bottom line, though, as I will stress again, what's best for the veteran, family, caregiver, or survivor. And that's what our governing role should be. That's how we should be making our decisions, not by bureaucratic state lines or something. And that's kind of like the principle that we work on, what's best for our veterans. Any other questions?
Hi, this is Carla Thornton. I raised my hand. I'm a co-chair out at VA Loma Linda. And can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, awesome. So thank you so much for having this forum today. I just want to make sure I give a shout out to Eric Faulkner, who's been amazing as our POC out at VA Loma Linda.
Yes, he has.
Yeah, he's a rock star. So I'm sure you're not surprised to hear, for those of us who are retired military, once our former peers in the military find out we're in this position, we hear, I often hear of issues that veterans experience, challenges that they experience from other states. So for example, I have a friend, a veteran who's 60% disability, and he's near Tucson. And he's often telling me about some of the bureaucratic challenges he experiences with that particular area. So what is from your viewpoint, what is the best way moving forward? Like, should I be working directly with their chair? Should I ask Eric to reach out to their POC, Chris? what recommendation do you have for situations like that with this position that we have?
Of course, include Eric as a person on the ground to acknowledge, identify, and assist in finding out what the problems are. If it's a simple bureaucratic problem, then it's not an issue. It's a patient advocate or something like that we could try to take care of. What we're looking for is systemic problems. So the one-offs might be an easy resolution. The bigger problem is when it becomes something that affects numerous times, numerous people, and that's what we are trying to really get resolution to. And it's been working very well. No organization is perfect, and I wish I could just flip a wand and say the VA is the best organization, the most perfect that it is. But with 360,000 more employees, you know it's going to be a challenge in certain areas, and there's going to be some people that aren't going to understand some of the jobs. It's our responsibility to support the communities to get these resolved, and if there are systemic efforts that are creating problems, we'll get the resolutions to get them straight, or what is the proper channel. Some of them, of course, are way out of our league, and I don't want to give some of those examples, to be honest with you, but some of them are federal, congressional issues the VA is bound by, but at least we can get the answers back to tell you this is why we cannot go that route. But we will always have the veteran in most interest. And I hope I answered your question, but the bottom line, please bring Eric in, and he can assist in highlighting what the problems are, and we can track it from there.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. So the last thing, are there any other questions? So the last thing I want to talk about right now, too, is something that Dr. Davis had announced, and we've known this for a while. But the emphasis that the VEO team has done has really impressed not only the VA, but the government world, but our government across the nation. So one of our goals as we originated was to become the customer service experts or benchmark. And we studied with many of the organizations that we're going to go back to, some of the private sector ones. I came from the private sector, even though I'm retired. 2006, I worked in the private sector for a while with a very renowned customer experience company, or customer service companies. One of the goals that we will be doing and working is emphasizing that our veterans and families and all are treated properly and all. And that's why we reach out to the communities to ensure that we're keeping our benchmark, we're keeping our status. And our efforts within the VA since the last 3 years have escalated the VA to recognition across our government agencies, from the White House, so we will be responsible for customer service government-wide, and it's a true pleasure for the successes that we have had at the VA with the VEO team. But my point that I said as I started this is we would never have gotten to the level where we are, the recognition where we are, and the ability of where we were going across the government for customer service and respect for our people had it not been for cooperation and the support and the prompt work that we received in working within our community. So much of our credit goes back to the community work that we're doing with that grassroots effort. So we have to thank all our agencies and all coming to the table, working for veterans, showing that if, as an organization, as a partnership, we all work together, our customer services go up, our respect for our veterans' families and all are going up, and our trust factor is going up. And it's not just the VA who's doing it. It's a credit to our partnership with the community. So with that, I will turn it back over to Bob, and I appreciate all the work and look forward to the continuation of this networking event so we can share information.